the previous offseason, you added Kyrie. You make the trade for him, but you sign him, re-sign him in free agency. How did you know that he and Luka would play so well together? Because Luka needs the ball, Kyrie needs the ball to do what he's done, but he can play off the ball. How did you know that they'll work together?
Because they're both basketball savants, right? They understand the game. They know how to play. They know what it takes to win. They complement each other in a lot of ways. Luka's big, strong, and not so quick, where Kyrie's quick, handles. I mean, they both got handles, right?
Yes.
Out of the world handles, but just plays the game a little differently. And when you have a backcourt that can complement each other and both are willing to let the other guy lead when the time is right.
Correct.
That's when it's going to work. Like when we first traded for him, they couldn't figure each other out because they hadn't had a preseason together. And then, last year, it took a little time. I mean, we didn't get it right at the beginning, but by the end of the year, they were playing off each other great. And it was like, Luka just loves to start a game by taking over.
Right.
And then Kai is fourth quarter Kai, right? And if Kai's rolling, Luka's like, here you go. And if Kai's not rolling, he goes,
right.
Give me the ball. It's my turn, right?
Okay.
And
yes.
when they got that respect and that relationship, that's when everything changed.
But Kyrie had a history of what transpired. I mean, Cleveland, and then it was Boston, and it didn't work out with the Nets. So how do you deal with a player that, it might not have worked out over here, it might not have worked out over there, it might not have worked out over there, but you know what? I believe in this player, and it's going to work out over here. How do you assess that, Mark?
You talk to him. And you talk to people around him. You watch what happens, how their actions are. When you watch Kyrie, before he came to the Mavs even, when you watch Kyrie after the game, you see it in football, right? There's guys who'll swap jerseys, slap each other, right, and walk out the door and never talk to each other again.
Correct.
Kyrie is one of those guys, like, he's going to hug you.
Embrace it.
Yeah, he's going to hug you like he's known you for 20 years, and you guys are first cousins.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that says something when guys are getting that close to each other. And so when you talk to players, they loved him.
Yes.
Nobody had a bad word to say about Kyrie that ever stepped on the court. And so to me, that was all we needed to know.
Okay.
And then from there, all the things you said, well, okay, what went wrong in Boston? What went wrong in Brooklyn? A lot of that is maturity, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of it was circumstances too, right? How often is COVID going to hit?
Right.
And lead to those circumstances. And what we learned was you just let Kai be Kai.
Okay.
And I love talking to the guy. Mm-hmm. And I say this all the time, like, if you go back to your college days and you're sitting in the dorm and you're hanging out with friends, there's a couple guys that just want to get trashed, right? There's a couple guys that want to get trashed and talk about girls, right? And then you all talk about sports. Kai's the dude that's sitting there wanting to talk about world peace,
okay,
right? Why aren't we fixing this? How do we end hunger? He's just got he's got a heart of gold. He's got a huge heart, and he wants to help people, And even if you look at his social media, it's about his tribe, right? It's about the people around him and how he can lift people up, right?
Yeah.
His community. And that, once we saw that, I mean, to me, it was easy to make that decision.
When you hear people like, man, they're misunderstood, what was your perception of Kyrie before you actually got around Kyrie and found out what type of genuine person that he is?
Honestly, before I did the work, I thought he was a team killer.
Okay.
Right? I was just like, because I never talked, there was no point, there was no reason for me to talk to people about him.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, hey, if he doesn't want to play when the Mavs come to town, great, right? If things don't work out on another team, great. But, when the opportunity to trade for him came, it was like, okay, let's do the work. Mm-hmm. And, Nico did the work. Jay Kidd knew him. Nico knew him for years. And it was like, okay, let me talk to folks. And everybody loved him. And so then you looked at the organizations he was at, and,
that didn't help the situation.
Yeah, right. And so, I knew all these owners, right? And I knew the circumstances. And so, it wasn't a hard decision.
Right. When you sit down and talk to Kai, and you mentioned it earlier, like you look at his social media feed, and he's talking about things that normal guys his age probably not talking about. Yeah. But when he got dropped by some of these major sponsors, what did you share with him?
I was like, can I help? And obviously, when it comes to shoes, which is big money off court, we got Nico Harrison right there, right? And so Nico gave him a lot of guidance and support. He had talked to him and worked with him at Nike. So Nico was great. And, I talked to Kai about business, and he was just like, Mark, I just want to be myself, lead the way I want to lead, and be creative. And he found a great deal, right? And he's been making it work. Right. If you notice the deals he signed since he came to us, there's no problems, right? There's no issues because we just let Kai be Kai. And when you do that, good things happen.
Right. Now, is it true that when Giannis was a free agent, you Did you want to try something? Because I'm reading out, it says like you passed on Giannis.
No, okay, two different things, right? So when Giannis was getting drafted, right?
That's when you passed.
That's when we passed, right? Because we had Dirk, and this was like 2012, I think it was, or 2013, and we just won the championship 2 years ago. And so some of our people wanted to go for Giannis.
Okay.
I wanted to trade down, and we ended up getting Shane Larkin, not because so much of Shane, who could play, but we needed that cap room to go out and try to sign somebody to propel Dirk. We wanted to go for the gold again.
Get another one.
Right. We wanted to get another one. So, but it's just the way it worked out. And had we gotten Giannis, we'd never gotten Luka.
Wow. Yeah. So how do you do that, Mark? Because you're like, okay, there's this guy here, and we have a superstar already on the team, and we're trying to maximize because he's not going to play another 10 years.
Right.
So we want to maximize this. So how do you really determine? Because you look at y'all like, damn, if we don't have you, Luke.
But remember, so Giannis coming out, there were like, I vividly remember, there were 2 VHS tapes of him playing in the Greek league. That was all they had to show me. Like the old school tapes, if you went into a yard sale, right, and you find these tapes, when it's got lines and everything, and it looks like someone's mom shot it. Yeah. That's what it was, right? And look, he got drafted at 13, I think, or something like that. And so, it wasn't like every other team knew about it either.
Correct.
But, you have to respect Dirk. You have to respect what he's done for us. And I already know, like, Dirk, if we had just, instead of going for it in free agency, if we had just said, okay, this rookie's going to be great, he would be like, what a shit show. With all love, right? Because Dirk's all love. But, just out of respect to Dirk, it was my final decision. And we went for it. And we didn't get the free agents we wanted, but that was the plan.
Has the buck always stopped on Mark Cuban's day?
Yeah, it's got to, right? It was my team, it was my responsibility, my final decisions for better or worse.
Right. Because I heard Jerry says, no one can run the Cowboys better than I can as a GM. Is that how you feel?
No, there's probably a lot of people who can run it better. And obviously someone's going to get the chance now, but, but Jerry, Jerry and I had and the difference is, between us is Jerry saw the whole thing as a business. Right. And when he talks about running this thing as a business and as a football team, he's right. And they've gone 12-5 like 3 straight years, right? So it's not like they suck, right?
Correct.
And you know how hard it is to get over the hump.
Absolutely.
Right? It takes some luck, and you're playing against Mahomes, who's like the Michael Jordan in some respects of quarterbacks. Then it was Brady before him, right? And so I'm not disagreeing with Jerry. I just think you got to give more credit to luck, because luck has more impact than probably anything I could do or anything Jerry can do.
Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party, because we like to do something before 2 something.